School safety is a top priority for everyone. In 2018, the Chesterfield County School Board created a school safety task force to evaluate current protocols and best practices that ensure the school division is providing a safe, supportive, and nurturing learning environment for all students, staff, and administrators. Today, I am with Chesterfield County Public Schools School Board members, Dr. Javaid Siddiqi of the Midlothian District and Mrs. Dianne Smith of the Clover Hill District to share with us the process of creating the Safety Task Force and sharing task force updates and findings. Welcome, and thank you both for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Mrs. Smith, this is really kind of a very interesting and unique concept. Could you share with me what does make this task force so unique and just a brief kind of history and the protocols in developing it?
Well, the relevancy of it actually goes back to 2013. Governor McDonnell established a campus and school safety task force. Dr. Siddiqi was the Deputy Secretary of Education, and I served on the task force representing Chesterfield County. At that time, there were representatives from all aspects of Virginia and across the state as well, focused on what will make our schools safe, what will make our campuses safe. The way that commission was structured really has given relevancy to what we're doing today in Chesterfield County in terms of our task force. 61 recommendations came out of that work, and so that was a lot to do from 2013 and to focus on until present times. But last year, Dr. Siddiqi and I, just about this time of year, realized it was time for us to go back and to assess and to analyze where we were and to project for the future. Our goal is not to wait until something happens. It's to be proactive and rather than being reactive in terms of the situation. We knew we wanted to involve a vast majority of our community. We wanted our emergency first responders to be involved. We wanted our community leaders to be involved. Parents, we actually had a student on our task force. We wanted all aspects of life in Chesterfield County and throughout our state involved in this perspective of safety.
So people applied to join the task force, and there were over 200 applications. Dr. Siddiqi, how did you kind of go through it and determine how did you pick those people?
So there's 5 board members, and each board member was allocated essentially 2 citizen appointees. So we all had different sort of views, thoughts that we wanted to bring to the table. We were communicating to ensure there was a good representative sample of the entire demographic of the Chesterfield County. But in the end, it was the individual board members' discretion. So we ended up reading all of our applications. For me personally, I sorted them. I imagine that's probably what happened for a lot of my colleagues, in trying to figure out what was going to be the right breakdown, if you will, of representation for my district and then also the larger county. I know we all spoke to each other before we actually came out and made it official. In the end, we were just overwhelmed, I think, with the number of individual respondents and applications and really dynamic people. Unfortunately, didn't even get selected, but the 10 that were selected all came with really unique strengths and qualifications, and it really enriched the entire process through the task force.
So this is a question for both of you. So the task force was really essentially created to examine critical issues that affect public education and our students' safety. Could you speak to some of those issues that we're talking about right now?
Well, actually, to springboard on Dr. Siddiqi, we had so many applications that rather than just manifesting a task force, we decided we could specialize. We could move into the areas of work groups. And so 4 work groups were established that would be the researchers and the people that would project what would be responses as we talked about school safety, as we talked about our relationship with Chesterfield County Schools and Chesterfield Police Department, as we talked about student discipline and conduct, and as we talked about student wellness and social and emotional needs here in our school system.
Yeah, I would add to that. I think that's really where the work happened. I think Mrs. Smith and I thought the work groups were going to be productive, but in fact, what happened was all the real work happened there. And task force was really, serving as a mechanism to vet, have the work groups report out, and I think the process worked very well. A lot of the issues that the work groups were grappling with were intense and heady, In the end, as Mrs. Smith mentioned, there was a strong list of recommendations that came out, and I'm just thankful for not only the citizen appointees and all the appointees of the law enforcement, emergency response, social services, but the staff. I think our staff in Chesterfield County Public Schools didn't get enough credit for all the time and effort that was put into actually managing the work group and doing some of the research that helped bring those recommendations to life.
So my next question then, I guess, kind of bounces off of that. With so many different people involved in this, a lot of different unique perspectives, what were there protocols in place to ensure kind of collaboration and coming to the page together?
Well, we met, and at each meeting, a group would report out. It would permit other committee members to respond, to question, to dig a little deeper, as well as we had public comment that, again, the public could, again, talk about, question, and give opinions. So through those periodic meetings, we were able to share. In between times, though, if we were discussing a topic such as school safety, and we knew that, again, Chesterfield Schools and police were talking about it, the chairman of those groups which would share, and then sometimes even attend the other groups' meetings, so as to bring expertise, research, and ideas and questions.
Do you have anything to add on that? Or?
Well, I didn't serve as a chair for one of the work groups. 4 colleagues of mine actually served on the 4 working groups and chaired the 4 working groups. And all of them didn't miss a meeting because I was sort of the pinch hitter if there was a scheduling issue, but they all attended and they were fully engaged. And again, thankful as staff. I was also thankful, and I know this speaks for Ms. Smith, our colleagues really stepped up and not only served as chairs, but really engaged and intimately involved themselves in the entire process. And we were thankful for it was a really united front from the entire school board.
It's really impressive work. So you started this process last spring in April. Could you share some key updates and findings from that process?
Well, we were going to have a report out from our 2 chairmen at our January 8th school board meeting, so I certainly want to invite the public to be a part of that so they can hear those findings. Some of the conversations we're beginning to hear linked to the governor's conversation in terms of next year's budget, but certainly we've talked about school resource officers in terms of establishing a larger quantity of those in representatives in our schools. We've talked about certainly the social and emotional aspect with trauma care that is needed. The governor's also put forth an initiative to increase the number of counselors in a school for the purpose, again, of servicing those needs.
Yeah, and I would add to that also. I think the governor's proposal is excited. Obviously, there's going to be some local implications here, in regards to funding, because those are state dollars, and so we have to do carry our fair share of the water at the local level. So we have to work in collaboration with our Board of Supervisors colleagues to ensure not only the counselors' proposal from the governor's office is really met, but also the many recommendations that are coming to the school board on January 8th, that our Board of Supervisors is going to be ready to help us with funding some of these initiatives. We are thankful that we had a chance to meet with our police chief separately. We've actually had a follow-up meeting because school resource officers was one of the big issues that will be coming to the January 8th proposal. And I think he's dealing with shortages of, like we're dealing with teacher shortages, he's dealing with police officer shortages. So being able to bring 38 elementary SROs to the table in one fell swoop, financially is going to be a big lift, but finding the actual police officers. So I think we have to come up with a strategy, and I think the recommendations to the board are one thing. How the board takes those recommendations and bring those to life, that's the process, and all these things are going to drive the decision making of the entire board. And so I'm looking forward to beginning the process, because until we receive it formally on January 8th, we really can't do a whole lot as a board.
Well, thank you. I mean, I'm so excited as a resident of Chesterfield County that this is kind of the direction that we're going in. And thank you both so much for your long service to Chesterfield County in lots of different ways, and for sharing your expertise on this today. And thank you for joining us today on Engage Chesterfield.